the emotional body is affected by trauma. It's affected by you don't really see someone dragging their joy along and saying, well, my joy is a problem. They only drag when they drag something else from their past that's caught in the reference of the emotions, where the water body and the fascia are quite unique. You can have elements implanted inside the fascia in terms of pre-programming somebody, or somebody being pre-programmed. So when you go through the fascia and you establish a line within the fascia, when you drop through the fascia, there's absolute silence. The mind is turned off. So the fascia is quite interesting in terms of what it manifests, because when you go through the fascia and you have a rebound, you're completely switched off, because your mind doesn't have the repetitive loop of communication in terms of talking to what's going on. It watches it and goes through the fascial line. As it goes through the fascial line, the mind is switched off. So the fascia is basically 75% water. So when this occurs, the emotional body it becomes very, very still, because it's an electrical magnetic process in terms of what form of emotion you got stored. And when you go through the fascia, the moment you look at water or you intend something upon water, it becomes that. So the most interesting thing about the fascia, which I've learned over the years, is that it's not what you think. It actually switches your mind off. It switches your previous past emotions off, because when you're watching it, you assign your eyes, your ears, and your feeling to go through these particular channels, and because they're so unfamiliar, you hit a frequency which isn't corresponding to mind. It's corresponding to universal mind. And then as you progressively go through the fascia, and then electrify or go into the electromagnetic fields in terms of what you do with the fascia, then the fascia, then you when you begin to have a voluminous feeling because of the expansion and contraction of the fascia, then you become aware of the bones. And as soon as you become aware of the bones, there's more of an electrical process. And this electrical process then can be slowed down by watching the fascia and restricting the fascial reflex, whether it's stretching or returning to its source. And then a hydraulic process occurs because you go through the bones. It's a very, very interesting thing. So when you look at the water body is composed of only a silent reservoir, really. So it's kind of like, when you look at this, it's kind of confusing, because the emotional body you would expect would be intimately connected to the water body. It's only if somebody's really unresolved on the emotional level, they'll bypass the energy body or the water body or the fascial reflex. They won't even know it's there. So so when somebody goes to reach something from a cupboard and they grab and they have a fascial reflex, and the body's been taught to do this, but they totally can't give recognition to that, because the emotions in the mind are totally fixed within a frame, and it's very, very difficult to escape that frame. So when you start to work with the fascia and the water body and also, I believe, maybe the musculature is where the emotions are caught. So when the muscles relax and it's wrapped around the fascia, then the fascia gives a certain relief to the muscular reflex, or the physical energy within the muscle reflex. Yeah.